Things that the Secretary of State is demanding of countries is that they stop allowing money transfers from their country to suspected terrorists who might be living in other countries. That's one of the elements of that side of the story. Our David Ensor, national security correspondent, joins us now with more on how some of these items are playing into the investigation. David.
Well, Aaron, before I get to the money, I would like to just mention one aspect of the law enforcement and intelligence side of the investigation that's going on now. U.S. officials tell me that there are still would-be terrorists inside the United States who they believe have the hope of attacking additional targets. They would not offer any details, but they say that there is no reason to believe that all the perpetrators are dead or in jail. So there is a serious amount of concern about that, obviously, and that explains some of the additional security measures that we've seen taken in the last 24 hours or so. Now, in answer to your question, there's a tremendous amount of work being done at the State Department and other parts of the U.S. government trying to build a coalition for this war that they expect to have to be involved in, calls to scores of nations. The message to Muslim nations and moderate Arabs, Pakistan also, is that you must choose sides now. Specifically, they are saying that you must stop the flow of money to bin Laden's coffers. For years, there's been a blind eye turned by many governments to payments sent by wealthy Muslims to charities and other fronts for Osama bin Laden and organizations like his. U.S. officials are saying there can be no more hedging of bets, and they're saying the U.S. will be watching closely to see whether that money flow is actively stopped or not. They are watching now to see whether President Moshiach of Pakistan, who is meeting with advisors today, will be ready after that meeting to say he's going to fully cooperate with the U.S. The U.S. is asking, would he allow overflights in the event they became necessary? Would he allow troops if that was necessary? Will he control his border? Will he stop aid to the Taliban? There's a recognition, officials say, that if he says yes to all of those questions, there is a risk of some unrest in Pakistan. There is a downside for him. Officials are hoping, but they are not sure, that President Moshiach will come down on the U.S. side. The priorities now then are to help New York to solve the crime, build the coalition. On retaliation, that whole subject is not getting too much of the President's attention, I'm told by senior officials, or his cabinet at this point, lower-level people. The Pentagon obviously has to make its plans. Public rhetoric makes it clear that retaliation is going to be foreseen, and they're not ruling anything in or out at this point, Aaron.
I want to go back to the beginning, but let me ask you one question about the end, which is, just in the normal course of business, I assume that military people would put together a plan, an option, or perhaps several options, and then present it to the President. Doesn't need to take his time now.
That's right. The senior people are dealing with those issues I mentioned before, the issues of New York, of the nation, of security here, of solving this crime and preventing any future ones. There are preparations being made for them to be able to consider the what next, the retaliation questions further down the road.
All right, let's go back to the beginning, this troubling piece of information you're hearing. No reason to believe that all the terrorists have been found. And I'm prepared to hear you say this is all they're saying and they won't give us any more, but let me ask it anyway. That's a little different than saying there's no reason that there may still be terrorist plan out there.
I know it is, and that was exactly what I asked, and the answer is you can say it in the positive as well. In other words, there is evidence that there are terrorists in the United States planning additional attacks. So obviously that's a big concern. Aaron.
Let's see if we get, let's build a couple of bridges here. Let's go to